Buckle up, gearheads, because we're about to take a high-octane joyride straight into the golden era of muscle cars, the 1970s. A time when gas was cheap, horsepower was plentiful, and seatbelt laws were more of a suggestion. Before emissions regulations crashed the party like an angry neighbor, car manufacturers were in an all-out war to build the fastest, loudest, and most pavement-punishing machines imaginable. These weren't just cars, they were rolling statements of rebellion, wrapped in chrome and powered by absurdly large V8s. In this video, we're counting down the absolute legends of 70s muscle. Cars so powerful, they made tire smoke a legitimate weather condition. Whether you're a seasoned muscle car fanatic or just here to find out why your dad won't stop talking about his old Chevelle, this is the series for you. And hey, stick around until the end, because we might just have a secret code word for you to drop in the comments of part 2, because real car fans always finish the race. Alright, enough talk. Let's mash that throttle and dive into part 1 of the greatest muscle cars of the 70s. AMC Hornet 360, the underdog that could and did. American Motors Corporation AMC may not be the first name that pops into your head when you think muscle car, but the Hornet 360 was a sleeper hit worthy of an encore. Picture this, AMC took their sensible little economy Hornet and stuffed a 360 cubic inch V8 under the hood, beefed up the suspension, and slapped on some racing stripes for that extra "don't mess with me" attitude. The result? A feisty, lightweight rocket that could embarrass much pricier competition. Today, spotting one is like finding Bigfoot behind the wheel of a Hemi Cuda. Rare, mythical, and downright cool. If you see one, bow in respect. Buick GS 455, the executive's muscle car that can outrun your dad's Cadillac. Buick wasn't just making cars for your granddad in the 70s. They were making fast cars for your granddad and anyone else who had an appreciation for absurd power wrapped in a tuxedo. Enter the GS 455, a muscle car that whispered, "Yes, I'm refined, but I will also ruin your day at a stoplight." With a monster 455 V8 producing 360 horsepower and 510 pound-feet of torque, that's right, more torque than a Hemi, this boulevard bruiser could sprint to 60 miles per hour in a mere 5.5 seconds. And it did so while rocking the classiest of looks. Think of it as James Bond in a tank top, sophisticated yet absolutely ready to throw down. Chevelle SS, the legend that still haunts the streets. You knew this was coming. No muscle car list is complete without the Chevelle SS, and for good reason. This thing was America's rolling middle finger to fuel economy and subtlety. The 1971 version came equipped with the LS5 454 V8, pumping out 365 horsepower and a thunderous exhaust note that made trees tremble. Even with emissions regulations creeping in, the Chevelle SS was still capable of laying down rubber thick enough to get you on the EPA's watch list. Thinking about getting into the muscle car game? Maybe it's time to stop dreaming and start wrenching. There are still plenty of these beasts lurking in barns and garages, just waiting for someone to bring them back to life. So, what are you waiting for? Pontiac Firebird Trans Am 455, the last hurrah before the oil crisis ruined the party. Cue the Smokey and the Bandit soundtrack, because here comes the Firebird Trans Am 455, one of the last true muscle cars before the world got serious about gas mileage. With a 455 cubic inch V8 delivering 335 horsepower, it was a rolling middle finger to looming fuel shortages. And let's be real, Pontiac styling was pure theater. Flared fenders, screaming chicken decal on the hood, and enough swagger to make a Corvette jealous. It wasn't just a car, it was a declaration of independence from anything remotely practical. If you see one today, give it a respectful nod and maybe a slow clap. Dodge Charger Super Bee, the bruiser that was born to party. If muscle cars were wrestlers, the Charger Super Bee would be the guy smashing a beer can on his forehead before jumping into the ring. Dodge rolled out the Super Bee in 1971 as an affordable muscle car. If you call a 440 cubic inch V8 making 370 horsepower entry level, it came in wild colors, had a giant B graphic buzzing across the trunk, and basically screamed, "I don't care about subtlety, neither should you." Ford Mustang Mach 1, the street warrior. The Mach 1 was everything you wanted in a Mustang: aggressive styling, a 351 Cleveland V8, and a soundtrack that could make angels cry. It was the muscle car equivalent of a heavyweight boxer with a poet's soul. Brutal when it needed to be, but stylish enough to make people swoon. The Mach 1 proved that Mustangs still had muscle in the early 70s, and today it's a dream machine for collectors and enthusiasts alike. Plymouth Road Runner. Beep beep, here comes trouble. If the Road Runner was a Looney Tunes character, then this one was definitely the muscle car equivalent of Wile E. Coyote's worst nightmare. The 446-pack option ensured that this cartoon-inspired speedster could leave just about anything in a cloud of dust. It was a loud, proud, and packed enough attitude to make even Dodge Challengers feel a little insecure. If you hear beep beep, it's already too late. Oldsmobile 442, the refined powerhouse. With a 455 V8 and 370 horsepower, the Oldsmobile 442 was proof that muscle cars didn't have to be stripped-down brutes. It had power, yes, but also had refinement, plush interiors, a smooth ride, and the kind of comfort that made long cruises feel like a first-class experience. This was a muscle car with manners, but step on the gas and it would still throw you back in your seat with authority. Chevrolet Camaro Z28, the track star. Built for speed and handling, the Camaro Z28 wasn't just about straight-line power. It was a precision instrument on both the track and the streets. With the high-performance engines and sport-tuned suspensions, this was the muscle car for those who wanted a bit more finesse with their fury. If the Chevelle was the brawler, the Z28 was the trained fighter with lightning reflexes. Dodge Challenger RT, the Hemi legend. Dodge made sure the Challenger RT stood out with its 440 Magnum and 426 Hemi options, making it one of the most revered muscle cars of all time. It had presence, power, and an attitude that demanded respect. This was the muscle car that turned every drive into an event. And we're just getting started. There are still 22 more muscle cars to cover, each with its own unique flavor of speed, power, and all-out attitude. Which one will reign supreme? Stick around because this ride isn't over yet. Mercury Cougar XR7, luxury meets performance and a dash of swagger. Ever wanted a muscle car that could brawl at a stoplight but still roll up to a fancy steakhouse without raising eyebrows? Enter the Mercury Cougar XR7. This was the muscle car equivalent of James Bond. Suave, well-dressed, but capable of throwing a knockout punch when needed. Packing a beastly V8 under the hood and a plush leather-lined interior, the Cougar XR7 was for those who wanted their muscle with a side of refinement. It could roast tires with elegance, making it the perfect car for those who preferred their adrenaline rush with a touch of class. AMC Javelin AMX, the rebel muscle that didn't play by the rules. If the muscle car world was high school, the AMC Javelin AMX would be the leather jacket-wearing bad boy who never followed the dress code. With its aggressive lines, wild color options, and a range of V8s that could put some of the big three to shame, the Javelin AMX didn't just show up to the fight, it started it. AMC took their underdog status personally, and this car proved they could run with the top dogs. If you drove one, you weren't just a car guy, you were a renegade with a need for speed and an appreciation for the unconventional. Ford Torino Cobra, the blue oval bruiser. Imagine a heavyweight boxer in a tailored suit. That's the Ford Torino Cobra. It looked composed and stylish, but under the hood lurked the monstrous 429 Cobra jet, an engine so powerful it could make asphalt cry. This car wasn't about finesse, it was about brute force and straight-line dominance. With a Torino Cobra, you didn't just pull up to the drag strip, you owned it. The only thing louder than its exhaust note was the sound of its competition weeping in the rearview mirror. Plymouth GTX, the gentleman's muscle car with a heavy right foot. If muscle cars had an aristocracy, the Plymouth GTX would be sipping whiskey in a leather armchair while planning its next street race. With luxury touches that made it stand out from the usual bare-bones bruisers, the GTX was proof that you didn't have to sacrifice comfort to go fast. And with a 440 Super Commando engine under the hood, fast was an understatement. It was a muscle car for those who wanted to flex their horsepower without sacrificing a smooth ride, a true gentleman's hot rod that could still put lesser cars in their place. Chevrolet Nova SS, small but mighty and ready to ruin your day. The Chevy Nova SS was proof that good things come in small, angry packages. It may have looked like a grocery getter from the outside, but pop the hood and you'd find big block V8s just waiting to cause trouble. This was the muscle car for those who liked their speed served with a surprise factor. It was lightweight, it was quick, and it could humble much bigger, pricier cars without breaking a sweat. If the muscle car world was a bar fight, the Nova SS would be the unassuming guy who knocks out the biggest dude in the room with one punch. Pontiac GTO, the OG, and rightfully cocky about it. Before there were muscle cars, there was the GTO. This wasn't just another fast car, it was the fast car that started it all. Pontiac basically threw a massive V8 into a mid-sized car, patted itself on the back, and walked away while the world scrambled to catch up. With its throaty 389 cubic inch engine and take-no-prisoners attitude, the GTO was the undisputed king of the streets. It was fast, it was loud, and it made sure everyone knew it. Simply put, the GTO didn't ask for respect, it demanded it. And just like that, we've hit the brakes on part 1 of our muscle car madness. 16 legendary, tire-melting, gas-chugging beasts down, and oh boy, we're just getting started. We know you're probably sitting there thinking, wait, there's insert favorite muscle car here? Relax, take a deep breath, and grab a snack because part 2 is coming, and trust us, you won't want to miss it. We're talking more horsepower, more attitude, and probably even more questionable 70s color choices. Seriously, who signed off on plum crazy purple? But before you go, let's play a little game. To prove you're a true muscle car aficionado, and not just some poser who stumbled in from a Prius forum, drop the secret code word in the comments of part 2, Hemi Havoc. That way, we'll know you're part of the real crew who stuck around for the whole ride. So hit that subscribe button, keep the rubber burning, and get ready, because part 2 is coming in hot. Until then, stay loud, stay fast, and remember, gas mileage is just a suggestion.